morning, Florida. Good to see you guys here. I hope everyone's having a wonderful, wonderful morning here, or day, depending on what time you're watching this here. So we got ourselves another update here for you guys regarding the Florida weather here for today. We actually do have a bit of a frontal system that's going to be rolling through, which is going to be bringing some relief for especially parts of northern Florida, as we're going to be getting into. So we have a lot of things scheduled in today's video. First of all, we're going to take a look at the satellite and radar. Unfortunately, the satellite part is not really working this morning, so hopefully by tomorrow we'll actually have that fixed here. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the radar view, the current radar view. Then we're going to dive into the Storm Prediction Center outlook over the next 3 days. We're going to take a look at the future radar. Then we'll look at those temperatures, the wind speeds, cloud cover, and last thing to end it all is the tropical weather outlook. Now, guys, if you do ultimately enjoy this, be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and consider sharing this with your fellow Floridians. It'll be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. So, starting out here in the Panhandle this morning, we do have ourselves a little bit of shower activity here just west of Tallahassee. Not really a whole lot going on here. Switching things up here towards the Big Bend region up in northern Florida. Not really much going on. Relatively dry, but definitely a little bit cloudy out here. I wish I could show you that, but unfortunately I can't right now. So then we dive our way down into central Florida. Now, we do actually have a little bit of storm activity east of Orlando. We did have a storm overnight west of Orlando here. So a little bit of showers, a little bit of storm activity here is ongoing, but you can see a lot of that is starting to dissipate a little bit. We're going to look at the future radar here in a minute as well. So then we dive into South Florida here. So then we take a look out areas by like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Relatively clear out there, but we do have a little bit of rain over by the Everglades, a couple of showers popping through here. So overall this morning, to basically summarize the radar, is we have a little bit of showers, a little bit of storms this morning, nothing severe, nothing too crazy. Now, speaking of severe weather, we do not have any risk for severe weather here for today, although we do have a general thunderstorm threat across portions here of the Panhandle, including Apalachicola, Panama City, Niceville, Pensacola. A couple booms of thunder is possible here this morning and for today, although nothing crazy is expected. Same thing for Central Florida here as well, bits of Orlando, Tampa. We are in the general thunderstorm threat, a couple booms of thunder possible, but nothing really too crazy going on out here either. And same thing does apply for bits of southern Florida, for bits of Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Some of the southern portions here of Florida is also in that general thunderstorm threat here for today. So overall, nothing too crazy. A couple booms of thunder is possible here. So for tomorrow, we do have ourselves another risk for a couple storms here. Northern Florida, not really expecting anything here. Same thing kind of for the central northern half, not expecting much of anything for tomorrow, although southern Florida could get a couple more booms of thunder here. And then we move into the day after tomorrow. For day 3, we start to see that thunderstorm risk maybe moving up a little bit more into central Florida, a little bit of the far western Panhandle here for the day after tomorrow. Possibility of a couple of storms, but for northern Florida, especially out there by the Big Bend, we're not expecting any storms really over the next 3 days. All right, everybody, switching on over here into the future radar view here. So we did have a little bit of shower activity across bits of central southern Florida. That is going to continue for a little bit of the remainder of today. As we kind of work our way into the early afternoon, you can see the possibility of a few more showers, maybe a few more storms developing here in central Florida. But you might have noticed up in northern Florida, it's actually looking pretty clear here as we work our way into the afternoon, because we're actually starting to see a bit of a frontal boundary push its way to the south here. We're actually also going to take a look at the dew points here as well. We're going to add next, just to kind of show you guys that, the dew points are going to be dropping quite a bit with this frontal passage, which is definitely going to help kind of ease some of the mugginess across bits of northern Florida, as we're going to be seeing here in a moment. So then we work our way further down in time into the later evening, right around 5 o'clock or so. A lot of those showers, still mostly kind of to the southern side of Florida, bits of central Florida, maybe still seeing a few showers, but for northern Florida, definitely is clear by this point. And then we work our way down into the later evening here, right around 11 p.m. Eastern. By then, we are seeing mostly clear skies across Florida. A few showers and storms possible by the Keys, as well as bits of Miami. We can't rule out a couple showers or possible storms at this time, but for the most part, Florida will be clear here for later on this evening. All right, everybody, so now working our way over here into the dew point forecast, according to the American HRRR model here. So typically when you see your dew points in the 60s and 70s, you could definitely expect a lot of mugginess here associated with it, because high dew points actually hold more water vapor, which is typically something that we see a lot here in Florida here. Anyways, so for this morning, our dew points are well into the 60s and 70s. Definitely quite a muggy start to the morning here. However, that will change, especially for northern Florida here as we work our way down in time because of this frontal passage. So we go down in time here. Once again, time's in the top right if you want to follow along. By later on this evening, you notice how the northern part of Florida, the dew points are really dropping well into the 40-degree mark here. That mugginess is definitely going to be gone for the most part as that cooler, more drier air does work its way into the region. However, areas like southern Florida, unfortunately, are not going to get much relief here from this frontal system. Central Florida could see a little bit of relief with those dew points dropping more in the 50s here, but that'll be coming back here relatively soon because, it's Florida and it's almost summertime, so All right, so now we're going to work over here into the expected temperatures here for today. So typically peak heating is right around 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So we're going to go right around 4 o'clock Eastern here to start things off. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here, first of all, at the Panhandle for today's expected temperatures. According to the HRRR model, Tallahassee could be into the mid to lower 80s here, as well as a lot of the Panhandle here for today overall. Working our way over here into northern Florida, kind of the same thing here. By the coastal areas, it could be a little bit cooler, of course, but, you know, it looks like we're mostly going to be into the lower 80s for the most part. So then we dive into central Florida. Now, honestly, it's going to be relatively the same for the most part. Maybe mid, lower 80s, maybe upper 70s in some spots here for today. And of course, across portions of South Florida, actually pretty cool. We're going to be mostly in the lower 80s, maybe even the upper 70s here for today. So overall, today is definitely going to be a little bit more cooler as comparing to yesterday. All right, so now let's go and talk about those wind speeds here for today. So today, we're not really expecting a whole lot of crazy winds here. At most, across bits of Florida, we're mostly going to be seeing winds about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Towards the coastal areas, especially out by Jacksonville, we could actually see maybe a little bit stronger winds, possibly up more towards 20 miles an hour or so. Now, if we switch over to the wind gusts, now this is what the winds could peak to for usually a couple seconds. We could see a little bit more stronger winds here, possibly more into the 20, maybe 25 mile per hour wind gust region for bits of central northern Florida here for today. So we could see a little bit of gusty winds as this front does roll through here for the most part, but nothing really crazy. I mean, we're definitely used to some strong winds here in Florida, but this is going to be really nothing at all. All right, so now we're switching things over here into the cloud cover here, according to the American HRRR model here. So we're going to be relatively overcast here for today, especially across central southern Florida. But as we work our way down into the evening, it seems like northern Florida could get a little bit more clear for the most part here. You know, if we go by the Panhandle by this evening, you know, still a little cloudy, especially by the coastal areas. Tallahassee kind of in the mixed zone here as well. Then we work our way over here by Jacksonville. It should be relatively clear by later on this evening. And then, of course, for areas like central Florida, mostly going to be cloudy here for the most part. Same thing for southern Florida here by this evening. So relatively an overcast day, which is also allowing for those temperatures to be lower, as we talked about here. Because, you know, the clouds actually act as a bit of an insulator. They actually hold heat and they prevent it from heating up more. You know, not completely, of course, but, you know, the clouds definitely kind of block some of that sunlight and reflect it back into space here, which kind of allows for the surface temperature to not get as hot as comparing to yesterday, where it was a little bit more sunny out there. Alrighty, friends, now for the last segment of today's video here, we're taking a look at the tropical weather outlook here in the Atlantic and Pacific Basin here. We are not expecting anything here in the Atlantic as of right now. But like I said before in previous videos, we're actually monitoring 2 areas here of possible tropical formation here. Actually, I forgot, one of them already formed. We'll get to that here in a second. But we actually have another area here for possible tropical development. This probability has actually increased since yesterday's video here, just off the west coast of Central America. The system's probably not going to do much of anything. Throughout the next 7 days here, the next week, we have a 50% chance of this thing turning into a tropical cyclone, possible depression here. And throughout the next 48 hours or the next 2 days, we are not expecting any development. So then we hop over to further areas westward. So this is well out into the Pacific. We are not expecting anything really major with the system, although it is expected to become a tropical storm here. This is Tropical Depression 1E, and as of this morning here, the system's really not doing anything super crazy, but as we work our way down throughout the next couple of days, as the system kind of works its way to the northwest, we will be starting to see the system likely becoming named and becoming a tropical storm here overall. So that is basically what the tropical weather outlook looks like as of right now. We have one future named storm that's getting ready to develop here in the Eastern Pacific, not expected to cause any problems, and we have another area we're monitoring here that shouldn't be really much of an issue either. So honestly, things are looking pretty good here in the tropics. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Once again, consider sharing this to a friend or a family member as well here in Florida. It'd be greatly appreciated to spread the word that we can help grow the channel, help get more people weather aware. It'd be greatly appreciated. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys here in the next update here in tomorrow's video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see ya in the next one. Peace out, my friends. See ya later on.